Well, hello, writers. Welcome to episode number 55 of How Do You Write? I am so glad you're here, and I mean that with a great big hug, and thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Sorry about missing last week. It was a family emergency, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, but right now I am broadcasting from my bedroom, which is why it looks a little bit different if you're watching on the video. I just woke up, so my hair is a little crazy, and I don't care because you guys are my friends. And we have a house guest, a darling, beloved, kind of adopted daughter of ours who's sleeping on the couch, and I don't want to bug her by being out there. And that's kind of what I love about this life is I can do this wherever and whenever I want. Last week, I canceled the show because I could, because I get to, because this is my gig, and that's super exciting to me every time I think about it. It's also your gig. I'm super grateful for you guys for showing up and listening to this podcast. It means a huge deal to me. Today's guest is fantastic as usual, but she's super special. Her name is Rachael Johns, and she's a friend of mine from Australia. Can't even remember where she came across my radar. We were both published in the Rural Romance, which I can never say, in Australia, shelved not too far from each other. She spells her name the right way, with an A-E-L, and she's always been delightful. I met her in Australia. I've seen her in New York at RWA there, and she's just a treat. I know that if we lived closer together, I would be constantly at her house or enticing her to come out for coffee with me to waste some time. So it was really happy. I was really very happy to spend time with her and talk to her. It's a longer interview than normal because we really enjoy talking to each other, and I apologize for the dogs. They were out of control, and things were going on in the background, and we were recording it at a different time. So life happens. There are dogs barking. The reason I did not record last week is that my mother-in-law died, beloved mother-in-law who was a mother to me, a real mother to me, and it required a lot of intense moving parts to get her kids and the in-laws all to her bedside before she died. We made it a few hours before, very last minute due to some extenuating circumstances. And then we spent 9 days in Idaho dealing with the memorial service and the interment and, the house cleaning and the getting the medical supplies back to where they belong. Basically, she was given 10 days to live 20 months ago. So she got another 20 months, and they were not comfortable months. They were not fun months. They were very, very hard on the whole family, especially my father-in-law, who took such good, beautiful care of her. I am not going to cry. But he said in his eulogy, and I saw this happen, they were married for 52 years, and they were, it was a marriage. There were ups and downs, mostly ups for them. But he said that when she was sick, he fell back in love with her all over again. My wife, Lala, at one point when we were visiting, decided to read to her mom and got one of the romances out that her mother had always loved. In particular, she loved Georgette Heyer. So Lala was reading a Georgette Heyer book to her mom, and her father noticed how much her mother loved that. So her dad became her Audible narrator, my mother-in-law's Audible narrator for the next 20 months. And in fact, the weekend she died, a friend came to visit them in the hospital and stood out in the hallway listening to the 4 doctors inside my mother-in-law's room discuss things for a very long time, and was about to leave, thinking that the doctors would never leave the room, when she realized it was my father-in-law acting out the 4 male voices in this romance, in this scene, and entered the room. But to watch my father-in-law take such incredible care of my mother-in-law was just the ultimate display of love. It's pretty much one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen in my life. So it was an honor to be there for those 9 days. I didn't work at all. I have nothing to update you on work-wise. So let's go into the interview. A brief business note, a really cool business note. New Patreon supporter, Sally Demarest, who I went to college with back in the day. She's a new supporter, and she sent me this awesome, let me pull it up, direct message on Twitter. And she basically said that she's been enjoying both this show and the Pedal to the Metal, which is another podcast I host with my friend Jay Thorne on making the leap from day job to dream job. And she said that she's been really enjoying it. She's decided to start working on fiction again, quote, so that I can build up that side hustle over the next decade so that it can be a great post-retirement gig and maybe even allow for an earlier retirement when my time for teaching has come to an end. I had never really thought, this is her speaking, I had never really thought about what it means to be a working writer as opposed to a famous writer or a failed writer. Thank you for helping me realize that the latter two present a false dilemma. Thanks for talking about money, she said. It's great to have new goals now that her PhD is finished and to realize the dream job of novelist is still an option. I loved hearing that, Sally, and it's always good to hear your voice. And thank you for listening. I love that you mentioned that, considering working writer as a completely viable thing to do. That is what most of us who listen to this podcast are doing. We are working writers. We're not famous. I'm not famous. I'm not rich. I'm also not failed. Right in between those two points on the spectrum is a place we call working writer, where we just get up and do the work and get stuff done. So thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for supporting the Patreon. That's at patreon.com/Rachael, spelled the right way, Rachael. I would love it if you supported me over there. I'm writing essays, and I will mention that thanks to my friend Mariah, I'm going to be changing the focus of the essays a little bit. I feel like I have written some great essays about creativity in all forms, not just writing. Those essays are about creativity in its larger form. But I am going to, Mariah kind of made me realize that I can change my mind what these essays are about because I love writing them. And I'm going to head more toward creative nonfiction, a little bit more memoir, slice of life style, because I get to do that. And that's what the Patreon allows me to do. So if you are supporting, thank you. If you are supporting, I hope you're enjoying the essays. I hope you enjoy the memoir-like essays that are coming. Always about creativity because I live my life as a creative person. That's how I get through the day. So that will always be part of it. But I'm really excited to take this shift. And I guess I'm talking a lot longer than I thought I would for being really kind of heartsick and sad and quiet. But I appreciate you listening in any way that I show up to the microphone. And believe me when I tell you that you can be a writer on your up days and your down days, on your happiest ones and your lowest ones. And you may not actually be writing fiction on the days you are at your lowest because God knows you're human. But that's actually contributing to what you will bring to the page later. So acknowledge that and respect that and get back up on the horse as soon as you can get your foot in the stirrup. Is that how the metaphor works? Let's get out of here. Enjoy the interview with Rachael Johns. Thanks so much for listening and for being part of my life. It means a great deal to me. So much. Okay, enjoy. Well, I am so happy. I could not be more pleased today to welcome Rachael Johns to the show. Rachael, hello.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. I love podcasts, and I've just started listening to yours recently, and it's fabulous.
Hey, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. Well, let me give a little introduction to you for those who might not know you. Rachael, and I need to emphasize that Rachael spells her name correctly. With the
Yes.
A-E-L, which is the correct traditional way to spell it. Rachael Johns is an English teacher by trade, a mom 24/7, a chronic arachnophobic, and a writer the rest of the time. She rarely sleeps and never irons, and I really respect that about you. A lover of romance and women's fiction, Rachael loves nothing more than sitting in her own bed with her laptop and electric blanket and imagining her own stories. Rachael has finaled in a number of competitions, including the Australian Romance Readers Award, Jilted, her first rural romance, which I can always never say, rural
Rural
romance.
Rural romance.
Won favorite Australian contemporary romance in 2012, and the Patterson Girls won the 2016 Romance Writers Australia Ruby Award and also the 2015 Australian Book Industry Award for general fiction, and I loved that. Rachael lives in the Perth Hills with her hyperactive husband, 3 mostly gorgeous heroes in training, 2 fat cats, and a cantankerous bird, and a very badly behaved dog.
Sadly, there's only 1 cat now. I must have forgotten to send you the updated bio.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. That's hard.
Never mind. Yes, it is. He was old though. So, he was in pain. So good that he's no longer in pain.
Well, now we're going to send a good thought his way.
Yeah.
Well, we have met. We've met a couple of times.
Yeah, I think in Australia.
In Australia.
In a lift briefly. I think maybe in the US.
Yes, at RWA where we kind of waved at each other. But Romance Writers of America in America is, as it is in Australia, it's crazy. It's so hectic. It's going on right now. I actually didn't go because family stuff. And and it is just kind of insane, and you want to see all your friends, and you just don't have time to. So
it's crazy, isn't it? I know we've got the Australian conference in a couple of weeks, and already, trying to make dates to catch up with people, and it's like, oh golly, 5 minutes maybe.
And then you look at like your Friday, and it's completely gone. You know that you're going to have to be moving the whole time. So I have to confess that I'm not very sad that I'm not there. I'm happy to.
I know you just got to stay offline and not watch too many. Because I have been to the US the last 2 years, and with one of my friends, Emily Madden, who writes in Australia too, and we would have liked to. It's just fun just going away by ourselves overseas for a couple of, not a couple of weeks. Usually it's been about a week, but so seeing the tweets and stuff is like, maybe next year.
The hashtags are making me a little bit sad, but
yeah.
Well, this show is about process, and I love to talk to people about process. And as you were sitting down with your phone, I noticed, and I think I can just barely see it in the background, you have a treadmill desk. Tell me how you write. When do you write? What's the best time? And do you use that thing?
I do use it, not as much as I would like. I only got it about probably 3 months ago because I had a very bad back, and just sitting in the chair was. At New Year's, I couldn't walk. I was in an ambulance because I literally couldn't walk. So my back was really, really bad. And another Australian friend, Amy Andrews, said she had a treadmill desk and that it just changed her life. And I could really feel that sitting down at the desk wasn't a good thing, that it was just, hurting my, just being still all that time. But, when you're sitting down, you're kind of in something and you should get up and walk around.
Yeah.
So, she said that she was using one, but she wasn't actually using it for writing. And that's kind of what I've done. As a writer, there's all the online stuff and the emails and blogging. So the only writing I've done, so I'll usually get on in the morning after I drop the kids to school, and I'll do half an hour to an hour just answering emails, checking Facebook. It should be less time because I should be writing more, but I figure I'm walking, and so I may as well keep
You're getting your exercise in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not a weight loss thing. It's just to sort of keep moving because it doesn't go hugely fast. I mean, it goes fast enough so that I can work up a sweat.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually, I have to confess, I haven't attempted actually writing a book on it yet. I think the last book that I was writing when I got it was was giving me grief. It was one of those books that, just nothing was working. The characters didn't want to talk to me, and it was just I didn't feel I didn't feel like I could write on that. But I have a feeling I'd like to try it if I'm in a book that's being kinder to me. I think I could. So I really recommend them. I think a couple of friends have bought one since I've got them. They're amazing. It makes you feel so much more healthy rather than just sitting in a desk all day.
I had one that I jury-rigged myself. I bought a treadmill on Craigslist, and I screwed into the wall behind me a really janky board that would hold up my computer, and it was just all, and I had to prop up the treadmill's feet on. Actually, I used manuscript pages that had already been old copy edits.
Love it.
And it was just so ugly and unwieldy, and I was always kind of falling off of it. So did you buy yours as a treadmill desk? Is that how it came?
Yes, and I must admit, I have this beautiful cabin, which I've only had for about 6 months. And so the treadmill takes up most of the cabin, and it doesn't look particularly pretty. But I did buy, I think it's Lifetime Fitness or something in Australia, and I probably wouldn't have spent the money if I hadn't had such a serious back injury that I knew, I had to do something, because it was probably about $1,500, which I think in the US is maybe $2,000, including the postage, which was good because I live in WA, which is like the furthest from anywhere in the world. Apparently Perth's the most isolated city in the world.
Oh my God.
So, and they delivered it. It was posted from Sydney. So the postage wasn't too bad considering.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have probably, they are expensive.
But that's a medical expense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, and you can, well, I don't know how your tax system works, but I claim that on tax.
Yeah,
it's part of my working.
We can write that off. We could write that off for both work and for medical reasons. So So
all good.
Putting that thought in my head. Maybe I'll go back to that. Okay, and when do you write? Are you a morning writer? Yeah.
Well, I used to, before being published. I was just actually talking about a friend of mine a few minutes ago about this. How we're so tired now these days. I don't know if it's getting older or it's just running around after kids. What? But I mean, before I was published, I was a nighttime writer and sneaking it into weekends, like I suppose a lot of people are when we've got a full-time job or family to look after, whatever. But now I'm really lucky that my getting published kind of coincided with my youngest going to school. There was about a year there where he wasn't at full-time school, but pretty much from when I started doing this, as a full-time job, he was at full-time school. And so all my kids are at full-time school. So I really do treat this as a job, sort of school hours job, I guess.
Yeah.
So I I go to school, drop the kids off, come home, throw a load of washing on. Then I do my treadmill stuff, and then I sit down. And I definitely find my writing is best which is so bizarre because I'm not a morning person, but it's definitely best if I come and get into it quite soon and start in the morning. After lunch, I feel like a nap, which I don't have. Sometimes I think maybe I should have, and just,
I do as often as I can.
I know, I should. So instead I sit here going, I'm so tired and I need more words, So I do, and depending on the weather and stuff or time of the year, I often walk the dog in the middle of the day. So I'll get my writing words done sort of in the middle, between a bit of morning email and that, and then the afternoon. So I try and get the words done in the middle of the day. Sometimes that can be quick, and then other times it feels like I am here and, right till the time I have to go get the kids and still haven't done my word count.
Yeah.
And as I'm sure you and every other writer will understand, although I write school hours, I also do, stuff on weekends, and deadline, it's kind of, I'm best writing in the morning, but it happens all around the clock. I don't have a very good process or a very good routine, and I probably need to.
Well, I always say, though, that if you're finishing books, your routine is great. That is your routine.
Good. I really like that.
When people say that their routine isn't working and they're not finishing books, then I do agree that they should try other things. But you're getting it done. You're doing great.
Somehow. I keep thinking my mental health could be better if I was, doing things a little bit more streamlined. But I'm getting it done.
Exactly. Yes.
I like
absolutely.
That. Yeah.
How do you refill the creative well when you're running dry?
Well, this has been quite
I like that sigh that you
lately. Yeah. I think we've had a very stressful couple of years. We sold a business, moved from the country to the city. We've been renovating, kids start new schools, and I have no time to fill the creative well, and it's really definitely been an issue. I feel in the last year I've sort of felt quite burnt out, and so it's something that I don't do well, I don't think, and I always think, next year or after this book I'm going to take, slow down, or the kids will be a bit more older. I look forward to refilling the well, but I think it's something that we really need to make time for.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make more time, and it's just pretty simple for me. Just reading more, and what I really need to do is watch more TV, because I do love. I mean, I was someone who never ironed and never watched TV basically for 10 to 15 years when I was trying to write. I still don't iron, but it's because I was, I was trying to write like most people when you have a full-time job, and then when I had little kids at home. So the time when I could relax and watch TV or read a book, that was my time to quickly go and try and write.
Yeah.
But I really think that's one thing that I should do more of, because whenever I do, I just feel so much more energized creatively. I feel, the ideas pop, and definitely reading. So that's the one thing I really try and do. I read a little bit each day, even if it's a tiny bit. I would love to read more. There's other things that I think work on a smaller level. As I said, walking the dog, I really find that just getting out, and we live in a beautiful sort of hilly area where there's beautiful bushland, and I can just walk through there, and that always seems to help too. So at the moment my life is a little crazy, and that's one thing I don't do well. So I really think it's important, and I love any ideas. What do you do to refill the well? I want to know.
I actually love that you said TV, because I think that has that there's some stigma still attached to TV viewing. We should be writing. We should be reading, and those are all the things we do. But just the way you said, really sitting down to watch TV is something I almost never do, and when I do it, it makes me so happy.
Yeah, me too. And I very rarely do it as well.
Yeah.
And just a movie. I have a writing friend in Australia, Fiona Palmer's her name. She writes rural romance.
Yeah, she's
too.
great. She's wonderful.
She's a lovely person. And she will email, I'm going to say lucky. Her kids are away at boarding school now, and they're older. So she's got, a lot of time all of a sudden. But she'll message me or say something. I've written for an hour, but I think I'm gonna watch a movie this afternoon. And I'm thinking, I'm constantly, that would be nice, but there's so many other things I need to do instead. And I do think you need to make the time to do this stuff, because I think, refilling the well is very important.
Well, then here's a challenge, Rachel to Rachel. Let's sometime within the next 7 days, I'm going to carve out time to watch a movie or 2 episodes of a show that I enjoy. And why don't do that too? And then
good idea. That's a really good challenge.
Yeah, we have 7 days to do it.
I'm about to start a new book that is got a bit of an 80s theme. So there's a lot of movies I want to watch to remind myself.
Now, have you seen Stranger Things?
No, I haven't.
Stranger Things.
So many people have talked about that.
Oh, it's all 80s, and it's beautiful.
I didn't know it was 80s.
Yeah, it's all 80s. It's all 80s all the time. It's and so it's literally research for you.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a good thing about being a writer. All this stuff that can be researched. So we're working really all the time.
And you'll love it. And email me when you're done watching your 2 hours and tell me how it went.
Okay. And you too.
Okay, I will. All right. And what is the absolute best or worst writing advice you've ever been given?
I was actually thinking, sorry, I'm just gonna quickly, I made a note about this when you gave me the question.
Yeah.
So I was actually just thinking, oh yes, that's right. And there's two little things that I have written down for different questions, and I was just checking. So I think there's so many little things like rules, just rules that people say, this is the way it is and don't do it any other way. And I always say to new writers, listen to what people say, but don't necessarily take it as gospel, because I think the best writers break so many rules as long as you do it for a reason. So, but that's just a little bonus.
Yeah.
What I really think is, I've been to so many conferences, and I was trying to remember if I've heard or read what you do. But we have the plotters and the pantsers, and then I decided recently I'm a prayer, not a plotter or a pantser. I just pray it'll work out, because that's what.
Oh my God, that's me. I love that you said that. That's brilliant.
It's so true. Anyway, that's another tangent. But I was at a conference, the RWA in Australia conference last year, and I won't mention names, but I sat in a workshop, and the person is a best-selling writer who has books right around the world. But not say anything else. If I start talking about genre, it'll become. But anyway, she basically stood up and she said the only way to write a book is to plot it and to outline it first. And that's never been me. I always like the idea of it, because I think and I'm not saying I'm a total pantser. As I said, I don't really believe that anyone's a total plotter or a total pantser. I think we're all somewhere
spectrum
in the middle.
Yeah.
But then I went away and I thought about some of my best-selling, not my best-selling writers, my favourite writers that are bestsellers and stuff, and that I've heard talk. like Leanne Moriarty, Nora Roberts,
Mm-hmm.
Monica McInerney, who's Australian Irish writer, and I've listened to all of them speak, and none of them plot. So obviously, there's they've all got elements that they do before, like we all, but I really think that there's no right or wrong way, and so definitely the worst advice I've ever got is you must plot your book before you start.
That
you
is
need
so
to know,
terrible.
Every bit.
Okay. And on that note, as you've been going, what secret writing tip of awesomeness or craft tip did you discover the hard way?
That's another sort of bit of an airy-fairy one. I was thinking about this, and I did a writing degree at uni, and it was an absolute waste of 3 years.
Me
and
too.
I think,
and
money.
You
did too.
Yes, I got a master's
You didn't like
in
it either.
No, I wasted $50,000. Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes, I didn't even think it like that, but yes, I wasted money too. But I almost failed my. I did a writing degree, and then stupidly I didn't learn, so I did honours. I don't know if you call it that over there, but it's like a fourth year here of sort of extra. We have to write a thesis, and I almost failed that because basically a writer in WA told me that I should definitely choose a different career because this is not for me. We won't mention names with him either, but needless to say, he's still teaching, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but he's still hasn't quite got his bestseller writing book out there that he was planning on doing all those years. Anyway, that's another story. But I remember this, so it took me 17 years. I'm bad at maths. Was it 15? Anyway, from when I decided I was going to write a book and be a writer, it took me, I think it was 15 actually years to first get published. And so I'm a slow learner, but I learned different things along the way. But the biggest problem, I think, was not just because I went to uni, and I'm not saying all uni degrees in writing are bad. I think I started 20 years ago. I'm thinking I've heard fabulous things now, and in Australia particularly, my degree was quite in the early years of writing degrees. Don't think they'd really quite found their feet. So I'm sure there's much better ones. So I'm not saying don't do a writing degree. I'm not saying do one.
Agreed.
But yeah, do your research first and find out people who have really benefited from it. But what the thing with my degree was, we were told basically you have to write literary fiction or poetry, but that wasn't for me. And so I was, for 3 years of writing, or 4 actually, really trying to fit a mould that definitely wasn't me. I was trying to write literary fiction when I was reading books like Bridget Jones' Diary and chick lit at the time.
Right.
And so I honestly think I was trying to write a weird combination of literary chick lit, which it's still not a thing. I don't think
it's still not a thing.
I'm
still trying to write that myself, and it's still not
literary chick lit. Yeah, it's still not quite.
No.
Well, maybe we'll
let's make
launch the genre. Yeah. So that's what I was trying to do, and so I was getting absolutely nowhere. I mean, there was a whole load of other issues, like I didn't know about goals and the characters have to have conflict and page-turning things.
We didn't learn that in school. They didn't teach it to us.
We learned nothing like that. So I've definitely learned more from being a member of RWA and organisations like that and talking to other writers.
Yes.
But yeah, so the biggest thing, I think my secret tip for awesomeness is to write not necessarily what you know, but what you love, at least to start with. I'm not saying it can always be that way when it would be ideally, it would be good to be always writing something you love. But when you do become a commercial fiction writer and you're writing to deadlines and contracts, you're not always going to love it, sadly, I think. And I'm trying to work hard, to keep the love is something that I think is important too. But, I'd say, so not necessarily write what you know, because, hey, research can be fun and, we hear that so many times, write what you know, and I'm not saying that's not a bad thing either, but I'd go further to say write what you love to read and write what you'd be passionate about writing. So it's not really a craft tip, but I think so many people are trying to, fit a box that's not them.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. Thank you.
So,
when you are having those darker days, the difficult days, or having
which
those
felt like every day last year.
Oh yeah, I hear you. When you have that self-doubt, how do you deal with it?
Probably not well as well. I think the difference, it's really hard because I guess now I have contracts that I have to kind of, like I listened to another podcast with another author the other day, and she had her second book was a memoir, and the interviewer was saying, why did you write that second book? What was inspired? And she goes, the contract, the deadline. Like I signed a 2-book deal. I had to do that. And I think that is kind of what gets me through the doubt sometimes, I suppose, without those sort of, deadlines. And if you're an aspiring writer, I think it can be deadlines with friends or family or, a competition or whatever. But it is so easy to let self-doubt, take control of you. And I'm just trying to think, I did write something other note, sorry. But yeah, I also think what I do sometimes, and it doesn't necessarily work well, but as I said, I just keep going and hope for the best. I'm a prayer. Oh, sorry, I lost you.
That's okay. You're still there. Phone falls, but it's all good.
I lost you in my prayers.
I love that the prayer comes back too. That you keep pushing through.
And I think that's one of the biggest things you have to do. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's two types of writers. There's those who are plagued with self-doubt pretty much all the time, and I definitely feel like one of them. Yes, me too. I think each book is a fluke, and oh my gosh, yes. How did they, all the readers before then, even though I've written like 20 books now or something, it's still, oh, hang on, they must be, and I honestly, and I know you understand, because I genuinely feel like that, and I think there's other writers, and go lucky them in a way, who look at everything they write, and I do know a few like this, and they're like, oh, it's so awesome, it's wonderful, and that's great, that's the way they work.
I wish I could be like that.
Have some of the confidence, yeah. But I think one thing I do occasionally is pick up a book that I have written that I didn't necessarily love while I was writing it, and open it to a scene and go, oh, I wrote that. I just remind myself that, hey, I've done it before. So maybe I can do it again.
I want to try that. I've never been actually brave enough to do that. No.
I've never read a book. Oh, actually, that's a lie. I was about to say I've never read a book after I've written it the whole way through.
I never have.
No, well, I hadn't until recently, and a friend of mine does, with her reader group on Facebook, she does, I don't know what she calls them, read-alongs or something like that. Anyway, so I decided I'd try one of them over our summer holidays. So I did almost finish one of my books. It's not. This sounds bad. The almost finish is not because I actually didn't enjoy it, or it's just that I'm one of those people that starts doing things and doesn't finish them. So it's amazing that I've actually. I start knitting something. Oh, you probably do finish knitting.
No, I have so many started things. On my Kindle, my Kindle is full of started books, and all of them are great books, and I just know that after a certain point, sometimes I'm just not going to finish them, and I would do that to my own books too.
Yes, I've got those things as well. So I did actually reread a book recently, well, as I said, not completely, but that was the first time ever, and it was kind of good. I kind of think it's probably, and a friend of mine said recently, when I was feeling doubt, go back and read something that you've read before and see, how you did that, because obviously instead of, yes, I think sometimes it's good to read other people's things. Obviously, I do read other people's things all the time, and to analyse how they've done, things as well as enjoy it. But to go back to the books that's been a real success among readers or that you've really loved, and to actually maybe, reread bigger chunks of it. I only usually read a couple of pages or whatever. But, just to remind yourself, you've done it before, so why can't you do it again? There's no reason. And you should be getting better, in theory. Yeah. I sometimes think I'm getting worse, but in theory, you should be getting better.
We're not. I know we're getting better. Thank you for answering that. That's awesome.
No, that's okay.
On really bad days, if you could not write, what profession would you choose?
This is actually one of a hard question, I reckon, because I'm one of those people, I want to believe in reincarnation, because I want to think that we'll come back and I can try all these different jobs, because, there's not enough time in my lifetime to try all the jobs. But, I mean, I always loved drama. My minor is in drama. And so I'm not sure I'm a very good actor. But, I would like to do something, I'd say an actor. When I was really young, I always wanted to read the news.
I can see you doing that.
Oh, really? The nightly news. Anyway, so I think, and then, so there's so many different jobs that I would do. And then I've actually made my friend horrified recently, because when I was about 21, I actually applied to be a customs officer. So like the airport or border security or whatever. And I didn't pass there was a psychological test you had to do online. I don't know if I didn't pass the test. because I'm crazy, or because I have a feeling, I think I was probably, it might not even be 21, I think I was about 19, 20, and I think maybe they prefer people who are older. I'm going with that.
Go with that rather than
get through. I mean, I didn't not pass the test. I just did the test. We didn't get a result, but I never got any, callback after the test. So, so for some strange reason, I kind of like the idea of being in border security, but I think it's because, I think it'd be exciting, but it'd probably be boring because I'd just be, checking all these people who do know nothing wrong all day. Whereas I want to, be in there when they're bringing something illegal into.
I flew back from Idaho last night, and I have this thing called a chillo, which is a chili pillow. Basically, it's an insert that you put in your pillow. You put it in the freezer all day, and then you put it in your pillow at night, and it's kind of filled with gel, which in the United States, we can't fly with gel products unless they're 3 ounces or less. And in the Ziploc bag.
What can you do with the gel product?
I don't make a bomb somehow out of your chillo, but they actually picked it up in my suitcase and then screened the whole suitcase open, every zipper, looking at everything.
Oh, no.
And I decided to tell them it was a medical device, just to see if I could get away with it, and I did. They're like, "Oh, okay," and they put it back.
Oh, that's good then. Hopefully, they're not listening to this podcast. Or you won't be able to. You won't get away with it again.
You can't have my chillo now. Okay, and I want to ask
you. I've never heard of that.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. What is the best book you've read recently, and why? This is a kind of new question for the show, but I want to get more books to read.
Yes, and I'm trying to think. Because I went through a reading slump period
That's
where
hard.
nothing
I hate that.
I liked. Oh yeah, I just liked nothing. And friends were saying that was reading the same book. I've got a sort of an online writing Facebook group, and we for a while had a book club where we were reading the same book each month too, and then discussing it kind of from a writing angle as well.
Ooh, great idea.
And I liked it. Was really good. We sort of, as I said, one of those things you start and sort of dwindles off.
Peters off.
But nothing. I didn't seem to like anything that anyone was reading. But then recently I've liked a few things that other people have not. So I really think it's very much what I mean. If I get to read a book fast, I usually quite enjoy it. So I recently read Jane Green's The Sunshine Sisters.
Ooh, I haven't heard of it.
And I really enjoyed that. It was the characters. I don't know what it was. It was but I think I read it on holidays. And I really just enjoyed immersing myself and just actually reading, because usually often I read 10 minutes a day or before bed, and not enough. There's a big thing I'm trying to do more of. But I really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think what else. I've got the worst memory in the world. Me too.
I was just thinking about a book that I immersed myself in, and I read on a plane trip recently. I read it all the way from Canada, the east coast of Canada to the west coast of California. And I know that I loved it, but I can't remember it, but it was the process of being inside it for that long without a break.
I was going to say also, do you question yourself sometimes? Because then I've actually kept a list of books that I read, so I'm going to have a quick look. But I think it's sometimes I question myself if I do enjoy it now, if I've read it quickly. So then I don't trust myself at all. And then I don't trust myself when I haven't enjoyed something, because I think maybe it's because I've taken too long to read it. Well, I don't. Yeah. But actually, I did read just last week. Have you heard of Michael Robotham?
I've heard the name, but I haven't read it. Ooh,
and I met him a couple of years at a writing festival. I love crime fiction too, actually, and I find I can read that more and just enjoy it. Yes. Whereas if I'm reading women's fiction or romance, I'm more either analysing, am I ever going to be this good, or I'm thinking, I don't like how'd they do that. So totally. I really think reading crime is good. So I recently read The Secrets She Keeps by Michael Robotham, which just came out, I'm pretty sure worldwide, and it's really fascinating actually, because he is a man, Michael. He definitely is not. Well, he might be a pseudonym, but he's a man. I've met him, and it's written from the point of view of two women.
Ooh. And you think he gets away with it?
Really well. Ooh. Yeah, I actually do. Maybe it's because I've met his wife too, and she's a gorgeous, lovely person. But he's got 3 daughters, two adult daughters now. So he's obviously lived with women for a long time.
I'm going to download a sample of that immediately, because I need something like that. I haven't had a good thriller in a month or two, and I need something like that. Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay, and
hope you enjoy it.
Last question. If you were starting over as a new writer now, what would you give yourself? What advice would you tell yourself?
Again, it's probably going to be not a crafty type one.
That's good. I love feelies.
It's more the fact that, so as I said, it took me 15 years to get published, and I think if I'd started now, it possibly wouldn't have taken me so long. Not because, well, there's a whole lot of reasons why. Now I'm older, but that's not what I meant. What I think is I see so many new writers that are so, passionate and excited, which is what I was and hope is there. But I didn't have the opportunities that they have, so they can go out and self-publish a book. And I've got nothing against self-publishing. I've got friends who do it really well and stuff. But I see a lot of like aspiring writers who get their first book rejected by a few publishers, and they're like, "Oh, it's not me. It's not the book. It's obviously," and so they just put it on the internet.
Yeah.
And I just think don't be in a rush.
Oh,
sometimes it takes time. Yeah. So, and I think I would have done that. Yeah. I think I definitely would have done that because I started writing at 18. Those terrible books. And but I thought I had more confidence then. I thought they were, fantastic, and I got rejections, and I'm glad I got rejections. So
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. When I look back on the 2 or 3 books that are, on floppy disk, literally the 5.5 or 5.25 floppy
found
disk.
some of them recently.
Isn't it the worst? And I remember at that point, they were the best I could do. And I knew that, and I thought they were great. And I think that I am one of those people. I am a person with discipline and stick to itness to a point. But there is another part of me that it does cop out sometimes. And I think that if I'd had 10 rejections on those and self-publishing was an option, I would have done it. And I would be,
me too.
And I would be so saddened by that because those are terrible books.
Exactly. I'm not saying it's nothing against self-publishing, and there's obviously sometimes rejections are from mainstream publishers because it just doesn't fit a line or they can't market it, and in that case. But I think it's very hard as a new writer to work out, is that why I'm being rejected? Or am I being rejected because it really is not that great a book and I could do better if I just give myself a little bit more time to learn my craft?
I wonder sometimes how we can tell, and I don't know.
I don't know, because I honestly do still think I'm definitely not the best judge of my own writing. So yeah, I
the
don't.
one thing
I really
the
don't
one thing
know.
I have thought, and if anybody's listening and is having this worry, I have thought to myself that if I were starting over now and I had that feeling, I'd been rejected a few times and I was disheartened and I wanted to be published, I think I would try publishing that particular book under a pseudonym and
that's a good idea.
Not putting out a paper copy. Once you put out a paperback version, it will last forever on Amazon in those ranks because they can't prove that they, all those books have been pulled. They might be in existence, so it'll always stay on Amazon.
People can,
exactly. But if you just do it in e-version,
you can get rid of it.
You can get rid of it totally, and you can see what the reviews say. And
that's a really good idea, I think. Yeah,
I think that's really, really what I would do. And if out of 20 reviews, 5 people hate it, that's normal. And if you have 10 people who love it, great, and 5 people who are mixed. But I think that's what I would do.
And you might make a little bit of money on the way while you're doing experiments.
Exactly, and if it accidentally takes off,
then you can use. That's why I'd say choose a pseudonym you like.
Yes.
In case you want to keep it.
Is Rachael Johns your real name?
Sorry?
Is Rachael Johns your real name?
Rachael is my real name,
spelled
correctly. But
good.
No, Johns is not. And it was because my name is very similar to Rachael Bailey. I don't know if you've met Rachael Bailey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is not her, it's her real first name, but she's last name's pseudonym too. And she got published before me. We were knew each other through Romance Writers of Australia, and she sent me an email. We already got confused. People couldn't handle 2 Rachels in an organisation, even though there's more Rachels. So I'd get her emails. She gets mine. It still happens occasionally, and people do think we're the same person. It's quite funny. We've been saying for years we're going to get T-shirts at conference that says, if you like Rachael Johns, try Rachael Bailey, this one. But yeah, so she actually emailed me, and it was so lovely because she said to me, when you get published, not if, are you going to use a pseudonym? And I had 3 young boys at the time and was working at a Catholic school and was trying to get published in quite sexy romance. And I also thought, one day I'm going to have 3 teenage boys who might not, they might think it's cool mum writes sexy romance, or they might also think it's embarrassing. And also just being, the job that I was in, I thought it's better. So I said, yes, I will have a pseudonym. And I actually chose my granddad, who just died recently, and we were very close. His first name was John. So that's where I got Johns from.
I love that. And tell us where we
Yeah.
can find you now. Tell us what, and tell us about the most recent book. Tell us, plug yourself a little bit.
Okay, well, I am on Twitter and not much, on Facebook. So I'm just going to move you over here for a second.
Sure,
Sorry.
no problem.
I've covered myself up, haven't I?
No, you're fine.
This is not good. Sorry. Apologies to all your listeners with my phone, not computer. Skype hates me, as I told Rachel before. So I'm on Facebook, I think Rachael Johns Romance, and website, rachaeljohns.com with Rachel, like Rachael Herron.
The best way.
And I'm actually really excited because my first women's fiction comes out. It was my second women's fiction, but the first comes out in the US and Canada in August.
I can't wait for
August.
this.
So this is The Art of Keeping Secrets. So yeah,
such a beautiful book
on the floor there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And in Australia, I've got another book coming out at the end of the year called The Greatest Gift. These are both advanced reading copies.
Ooh, is that also women's fiction or is that romance?
That's women's fiction too. So yeah.
That's
and I
awesome.
sort of do one rural romance and then one women's fiction at the moment. And you're big in Australia, and you're like rural. Well, you're classified as rural romance in Australia with your romance novels too, aren't you? And yes, I know so many people, my readers, who also adore reading your rural books.
we have a strong crossover readership, you and and that's maybe that's why I love reading your books. But they're
maybe that's because they think we're the same person. So I also get that with Rachel Treasure. Have you had it?
I get that with Rachel Treasure. Yes.
Yeah.
And
they're like, I love Jellaroo. You're like, thanks, I didn't write that.
Have you read 2K to 10K by Rachael Aaron?
No, Aaron. Oh yes, I've heard of that book. Yes.
I'm sorry. I apologize to the listeners about the dogs. They're just going to keep going. But yeah, people get me confused. Rachael Herron and Rachael Aaron, of course.
Yes, I can see. Yeah.
That just happened on a podcast recently.
Could be a good thing because I think people. It's bizarre then. Are people only thinking first names when they're picking up a book? Maybe we should all be called Nora. I should have gone Nora Johns.
I should have done that. Nora Herron is going to be my next pseudonym.
And they're like, oh, it's a book by Nora Roberts.
Oh my gosh. Well, you are delightful. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and
for
joining me across the oceans. And I can't believe that it sounds so good. And it's just like we're hanging out in the same room.
That's good. We managed to get the timing right.
Yes, finally.
It's not too late for you, hopefully.
No, I'm going to go start making dinner, and now you can have your day and walk on your treadmill. So.
Oh, yes. Okay. Those are better.
And don't forget, 2 hours of television. Of some sort.
Next week.
Then, yes.
All right. I'll report back.
Okay. And listeners, do the same thing. Absorb the story. Yes. All right. Thanks so much, Rachael.
That's a good idea.
I can't.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon. Bye.